You've come here not just to hear words, but to feel a truth in the very core of your being. Because what we're about to discuss isn't an intellectual exercise. It's a journey into the soul's deepest chamber, where the wounds are, where the strength is hidden, where your greatest pain is not an ending, but a doorway. I need to speak to you directly, as if you're the only one here, because I know you're carrying the weight of a silent war. The hidden toll of absorbing another person's shadow, the profound, often terrifying alchemy that happens when a person of deep feeling survives the vacuum of a narcissist. So many of you believe that getting out was the victory, but survival isn't the finish line, it's the starting block. Because the person who emerges after being drained, after having their own reality distorted by another's relentless need, is not just a damaged shell. They are the raw material for something new, a powerful new way of being forged in fire. And so, the real question we have to answer together is this: after the fire, what rises from the ashes? First, we need to be clear about what an empath really is. In the true sense, it's not just about feeling deeply, not just having skin that's too thin. It's about being someone unconsciously tasked, often from childhood, with becoming a mirror for the unarmed darkness of others. The empath is frequently raised in a home where they had to become a human weather vane, sensing every shift in a parent's mood, every unspoken tension in the air. This hyper-awareness wasn't a personality trait, it was a survival mechanism. It was how you learned to manage chaos by reflecting back what those around you could not bear to see in themselves. So, when the narcissist shows up, it's never random. It's a magnetic lock and key event, an ancient script playing out. The narcissist is the embodiment of the rejected self, a persona that must consume the light of others to sustain its fragile, hollow God complex. The empath, by instinct, becomes the container. You absorb, you process, you attempt to metabolize the very poison the narcissist refuses to acknowledge is their own. And this is the crucible. To take in that darkness is a spiritual ordeal. It means feeling their guilt as if it were yours. It means wearing their shame like a coat you can't take off. It means carrying a rage in your heart that you know, deep down, was never your own. This process feels like an erasure of the self. The empath can lose all sense of who they are, adrift in a fog of confusion, questioning their own mind in a funhouse mirror where the narcissist dictates what is real. But I am telling you, in that precise moment of dissolving, in that breaking point, a deeper process begins. This is the classic journey of the wounded healer, a descent into the underworld of the soul. The personality you thought you were has to be dismantled so that your true nature can be born. When you come through an experience like this, you are fundamentally remade. The empath who walks out of that fire is not the same person who walked in. There has been a death, and there is the promise of a resurrection. You have carried another's poison. You have battled it. And if it did not destroy you completely, it has initiated you. The unconscious mind, which set up this trial, also provides the blueprint for your transformation. What is survival if not a profound act of alchemy? The lead of your pain, the mercury of your confusion, the sulfur of your rage, all churned in the vessel of your soul until something new is created, a warrior's heart. So we return to the question, who do you become? You become someone who knows darkness not as a concept, but as a felt reality. You become someone who is no longer afraid of the deep end because you have learned to breathe underwater. You become someone whose compassion is no longer a vulnerability, whose light is no longer given away freely, but whose soul has the weight, the gravity of one who has faced down demons and returned with their vision intact. Let me give you a new image. Picture a woman who dreams she is a beautiful glass vase filled with water, holding flowers for all to enjoy. One day, a visitor smashes the vase, and the shards scatter across the floor. The woman is devastated, weeping for her brokenness. But as she kneels to pick up the pieces, a master craftsman appears. He gathers the shards and, using threads of pure gold, he pieces the vase back together. When he is done, the vase is not the same. It is covered in a beautiful network of golden seams. It can hold water again, but now it is a work of art, made infinitely more precious and strong by the very act of its breaking. This Japanese art, kintsugi, is a perfect symbol for the empath's survival. You have been shattered, yes, but you are not meant to hide the cracks. You are meant to fill them with gold, the gold of wisdom, resilience, and a new, unbreakable self-awareness. The scars become the most beautiful part of you. This transformation comes at a price. Don't let anyone tell you that you emerge from the narcissist's world without scars. There are wounds, and they will ache. You might be left with hypervigilance, a deep-seated mistrust, or the ghostly echo of their critical voice in your quietest moments. But those wounds are also a map. They are a compass pointing you away from danger. Your survival wasn't about avoiding pain. It was about enduring pain until it was transmuted into power. The empath who survives becomes a keeper of a rare kind of wisdom. You are no longer just sensitive. You are discerning. You can feel the subtle shift in the air when manipulation is at play. You recognize the empty calories of false praise. You can detect inauthenticity like a pressure drop before a storm. This is a profound gift, even if it was purchased with your own suffering. You might wonder, why did it have to be this way? Why must this particular agony be the catalyst for awakening? Because the soul demands wholeness, and the narcissist is a walking embodiment of unwholeness. They outsourced their shadow, and it had to land somewhere. The empath, trained from birth to be a container, was the perfect candidate. But the soul has a built-in fail-safe. It allows you to carry the burden until it becomes unbearable. And in that moment of absolute collapse, when your identity fractures, the psyche gets the opportunity to rebuild you from the foundation up, based on a truer design. This is the path of individuation, the sacred process of becoming the person you were always meant to be, not the person you were conditioned to be. It is a dangerous road, and not everyone emerges whole, but those who do possess a clarity and a strength that is unknown to those who have lived their lives only in the shallow end. In alchemy, there is a phase called the nigredo, or the blackening. It is when the old material must rot, dissolve, and fall into complete darkness. It is in that fertile decay that the seed of the new creation is planted. The empath who survives a narcissist lives through their own personal nigredo. You feel annihilated, worthless, utterly lost. But if you hold on, if you refuse to surrender your soul to the lie, then from that black earth, something new and fiercely beautiful begins to grow. So who does the empath become? You become the alchemist of your own pain. You become someone who balances empathy with boundaries. You become someone who no longer offers their spirit on a platter, because you now understand its infinite worth. You become, against all odds, more fully yourself. Now, listen closely, because there is one final trap. The surviving empath can be tempted to build a fortress around their heart, to encase it in stone and swear, never again. I will never be that open, that loving, that vulnerable. This is a natural reaction. It's the psyche trying to protect itself from further harm. But if you stay there, the transformation is aborted. Healing is not about becoming impenetrable. It is about becoming discerning. A fortress is just another kind of prison, and your soul will eventually demand its freedom. True healing means choosing to open the gates again, but this time, you are not a lamb walking into the woods. You are the guardian of the gate. You will still feel with enormous depth, but you will not drown in those feelings. You will still love with a huge heart, but you will not mistake self-sacrifice for love. You will still shine your light, but you will no longer offer it to those who only see it as a meal. This is the great paradox of the healed empath. Your heart doesn't shrink, it becomes both bigger and smarter. You are simultaneously more tender and more fierce. You embody the true archetype of the wounded healer, one who has been through the underworld and can now guide others. Not because you are perfect, but because you are real. This doesn't mean you go looking for narcissists to fix. That is the old self-destructive pattern. No, the healed empath heals just by their presence, by modeling what authenticity looks like, by holding a light that has been tested by darkness and has not gone out. You become a living example that one can be both soft and strong. In a strange and brutal way, the narcissist served your soul's evolution. Their emptiness forced you into your own depths, and there you found a strength you never knew you possessed. It is a terrible gift, but a gift all the same. So I say to you, if you have walked through this fire and are still standing, you are no longer just an empath. You are a graduate of one of the soul's hardest schools. You are one who has carried darkness and refused to be consumed by it. You are one who has seen the truth behind the mask and has chosen to live without one. You are not defined by their wound. You are defined by your resilience. And what you have become is a soul awake to its own sovereign power. When we speak of what comes after, we have to talk about integration. It's not enough to escape the maze. You must understand how you found your way in, so you never get lost in that way again. The surviving empath stands at a crucial junction. Do you bury the past and pretend it didn't happen, letting it poison you from within? Or do you face it, learn from it, and let it make you into someone wiser? Integration demands you face your own shadow, not just the narcissist's. What was it inside you that resonated with them, that needed them, that allowed the dynamic to continue? Was it a deep-seated fear of being alone? Was it a secret need to be the good one, the savior? Answering these questions is not about blaming yourself, it is about liberating yourself. To bring your own hidden motives into the light is the final step of breaking the spell. You see, the empath's hidden vulnerability is sometimes an unconscious mirror of the narcissist, the part of us that gains a sense of worth from being needed, the part that is addicted to being the hero, even if the price is our own soul. When you can look at that part of yourself with compassion and honesty, the cycle is truly broken. You are no longer a character in their drama, you are the author of your own story. Think of it like this: an old sword, shattered in battle, can be reforged. It is melted down in a fire far hotter than the one that first created it. It is beaten, folded, and shaped again. It is no longer the same sword. It is stronger, sharper, and carries the memory of the fire within its very molecular structure. This is you. You can never go back to being the person you were before. That innocence is gone. But what replaces it is not a loss. It is a sacred upgrade. You will always carry the knowledge of the darkness, the signature of the poison. But this does not chain you to despair. Instead, it makes you a bridge between two worlds. You can understand the pain of others without getting lost in it. You can walk in the light with a newfound appreciation for its warmth. You are no longer naive about brokenness, but you are also no longer defined by it. This balance is the hallmark of true spiritual maturity. Let me offer another image. Imagine a man who dreams he is lost in a desert, dying of thirst. Every direction looks the same, empty, hopeless. He is about to give up when he stumbles and his hand falls upon something cool and solid beneath the sand. He digs and uncovers the mouth of a deep well. He lowers a bucket and pulls up the clearest, coldest water he has ever tasted. He realizes the salvation he was desperately searching for on the horizon was right beneath his feet all along. The experience with the narcissist is the desert. It strips you of everything. It forces you to the point of surrender. But it is in that very moment of hitting bottom that you discover the inexhaustible well of your own soul. The love, validation, and worth you sought from them was within you the entire time. Now, we must be honest that the echo of their poison can remain. There will be days you hear their voice in your head, whispering the old lies. You're too sensitive. You're not good enough. You're the problem. These phantom voices are not signs of your failure. They are the residue of a deep psychic intrusion. Your job is not to fight them, but to answer them with the authority of your newfound self. When the echo says, "You are worthless," your soul answers, "I am a survivor, and my worth is not up for debate." When the echo says, "No one will ever love you," your heart answers, "I am learning to love myself, which is the only love I could never lose." This internal conversation is the long, patient work of reclaiming your own mind. You are taking back your territory, thought by thought, until the inner world belongs entirely to you, not to the ghost of your past. Do not be impatient with this process. The soul does not heal on the ego's schedule. Healing is not a straight line. It comes in spirals. You may think you are free, and then a wave of grief or anger will pull you back under. But remember this, even when you feel the old pain, you are feeling it in a new body, a new soul. You have been cracked open, and that is how the light got in. You are wiser. You are stronger. You will not abandon yourself again for anyone else's illusion. And that is a profound victory, because the narcissist's entire world is built on illusion. The moment you choose reality over their illusion, their power vanishes. You become untouchable. Not because you are hard, but because you are awake. So, what is the ultimate purpose of the empath who has been through this ordeal? It's not just to live a life free from abuse. That goal is too small. Your destiny is to be a beacon of light that was forged in the dark. It is to embody a form of compassion that is inseparable from wisdom. It is to walk through the world as living proof that the deepest wounds can lead to the greatest strengths. You become a symbol. Other people, those still lost in the maze, will feel something in your presence. They may not know what it is, but they will sense your authenticity as both a comfort and a challenge. A comfort because you see their pain without judgment. A challenge because your very existence proves their own excuses are illusions. This is the sacred role of the survivor. You carry both medicine and a sword. The medicine of compassion and the sword of truth. Think of the archetype of the phoenix. We have heard the phrase so often it can lose its power, but meditate on what it truly means. The empath's old self, the people-pleasing, boundary-less, self-neglecting self, is literally burned to the ground in the narcissist's fire. What turns to ash is the belief that love means endless sacrifice, that your worth is measured by your usefulness to others. From those very ashes, a new creature rises, one who knows its own value, who has fire in its wings, and who soars above the games of manipulation. And this rebirth is not just for you. It is for the world. The soul of humanity needs witnesses. You become a witness. You bear testimony simply by being that the human spirit can endure hell and be reborn, stronger and more beautiful. You'll notice, after this, that your perception of reality itself is different. You see the hidden dynamics, the invisible masks people wear, the unspoken contracts in relationships. At first, this can feel incredibly lonely. Once you have seen the code behind the matrix, you can't unsee it. But this sense of being an outsider is also a gift. It is the beginning of true sovereignty. It frees you from the collective trance of social pressure, flattery, and guilt. Freedom isn't just about breaking chains. It is about developing the vision to see the chains in the first place. I want you to hear this one more time. Do not resent the journey that brought you here. While it was cruel and it nearly broke you, it forged capacities in you that could not have been created any other way. The narcissist, unknowingly, was the hammer that shaped the steel of your soul. It scarred you, yes, but it also made you formidable. Your empathy didn't die, it was tempered. You still feel, but now you feel with discernment. You still love, but now you love from a place of wholeness, not need. You still give, but you no longer give yourself away. This is the sacred math of survival. I know there are days you will mourn the person you were before, the innocent, the open-hearted, the trusting soul. But innocence is not the goal. Wholeness is the goal. And wholeness is never just about light. It is the integration of light and dark. The empath who survives contains both. You are no longer just an angel or a victim. You are a complete human being, fierce, tender, luminous, scarred. You walk this earth as a living testament to paradox. And in that paradox is the secret to a life of profound meaning. So do not say, I am broken. Say, I have been reforged. Do not hold on to bitterness, for it will turn your heart to stone. Instead, hold your wound as the sacred place where grace entered you. Because it is in our scars, not our perfection, that our true soul finally becomes visible. And you, the empath who survived, you are that revelation made manifest. When the storm of survival finally passes, a profound quiet descends. It's the stillness after a battle, where the air is thick with the memory of chaos. Many confuse this quiet for emptiness, but it is not empty. It is a sacred space. It is your psyche rebooting, recalibrating itself for a new way of living. In this quiet, you might feel lost, stripped of your old job description: rescuer, giver, emotional caretaker. You will ask the most terrifying and liberating question: who am I now, if not the one who tends to another's wounds? This question is the key that unlocks the next chapter. To lose the old answer is to finally become available for the true one. The narcissist's departure carved out a space inside you, a vacuum. And now, the universe waits for you to fill it with something new. An identity that is not based on your usefulness to others, but on your loyalty to your own soul. The archetype of your wholeness, the self, has been quietly guiding you all along. Now do you see why the breakdown was necessary? Without it, you would have stayed in the loop of illusion, mistaking your chains for a lifeline. The narcissist's darkness was the pressure that forced the truth to the surface. And now, in this quiet, your true self speaks. It whispers. It does not yell. It shows up in dreams, in symbols, in moments of clarity that arrive out of nowhere. Maybe you dream of a single, resilient tree growing on a barren cliff. Maybe you find yourself drawn to silence, to long walks, to art, anything that reconnects you to your own inner voice. These are all signs that you are no longer just a mirror for others, but a seeker of your own truth. This is where you become the hero of your own story. You may not feel like a hero. Your journey was not one of conquering armies, but of silent endurance. But make no mistake, endurance is a form of heroism, to keep your own flame alive when someone else is trying to suck all the oxygen out of the room. That is a battle of mythic proportions. But unlike the heroes in old stories, you could not slay your dragon. Because the dragon was both outside of you and inside of you. It was the narcissist, and it was your own unconscious patterns. Your job was not to kill, but to outlast, to endure until you could transform. And having endured, you now possess the boon the hero always brings back from the underworld: wisdom. Wisdom about illusion. Wisdom about human nature. Wisdom about the unbreakable core of your own spirit. And like any true hero, you are called to share this wisdom, not just keep it for yourself. The hero is reborn for the sake of the village. But I must give you one final warning. There is a new addiction waiting for the survivor, the addiction to the survival story itself. You can get stuck there, defining yourself forever as the one who went through that terrible thing. But an identity built only on a wound is an incomplete identity. You must move from surviving to thriving. Surviving is the brutal prerequisite. Thriving is the sacred purpose. If you cling to survival, you become a permanent victim, forever defined by what was done to you. If you choose to thrive, you use what was done to you as fuel. What does this thriving look like? It's not about grand gestures. It's about a million small acts of self-loyalty. It's saying no and not feeling guilty. It's trusting your intuition the first time. It's choosing your own peace over someone else's approval. Each of these small choices weaves a new reality. Over time, you become a person who does not self-abandon. You become someone who can love deeply without losing yourself, feel intensely without being destroyed, and give generously from a full cup, not an empty one. You finally become a soul that is its own anchor. The universe loves a good paradox. And so here you are, after being steeped in darkness. Your light is more potent than ever before. It is not the soft, naive light you started with. It is a tested, focused light, a searchlight. It has the power to cut through fog and illuminate falsehood. And for this reason, your presence will be both a comfort and a disturbance to others. People who are invested in their illusions may find you threatening, but people who are hungry for truth will see you as a lighthouse. This is your work now. Not just to be healed, but to be a healer in the true sense, a beacon for others. Imagine one more dream, A woman dreams she's carrying a sack full of jagged rocks on her back. It's heavy, painful. She finally drops it in exhaustion, and the rocks spill out. But as they hit the ground, they crack open, and from the center of each rock pours out a brilliant light. She realizes the burden she was carrying was actually a container for her own power. This is the truth of your experience. You thought you were just carrying pain, betrayal, and sorrow. But hidden inside all of that was your own brilliance, your resilience, your discernment, your wisdom. Now that you've dropped the sack, your job is to gather up that light and claim it as your own. The burden contained the treasure. The ultimate truth is this: who you become is no longer just an empath. You become a truth teller just by being yourself. You've developed an internal Geiger counter for inauthenticity, a sense for the unseen patterns that drive human behavior. You can sense a hidden agenda like a change in the weather. This isn't paranoia, it's post-traumatic wisdom. It is the gift that came wrapped in sandpaper. It can feel isolating, but it is also what sets you free. You become a guide for those still lost, not by giving advice, but simply by being an example of what is possible on the other side of the fire. But there is one more layer. You survived the narcissist outside of you. The final work is to make peace with the narcissist inside of you. We all have it. The part of us that craves applause, that fears being seen as flawed, that wants to control outcomes. If you don't acknowledge this shadow in yourself, you risk projecting it, and the cycle continues. Survival doesn't immunize you from this. Only ruthless self-honesty does. When you can see that needy, ego-driven part of yourself with compassion, then you are truly sovereign. Freedom is not the absence of external tyrants. It is the mastery of your own internal world. The whole empath is one who can hold their own vulnerability and their own ego in a loving embrace. This is the masterpiece of individuation. The reconciliation of your own opposites. You are not just the gentle lamb. You are not just the hardened survivor. You are the one who holds both. You can be fierce and tender, wise and open, strong and soft. You don't cling to one side, you embody the wholeness. And that wholeness is true freedom. So when you ask, who am I now? The answer has no single name. You are not just an empath, not just a survivor, not just a wounded healer. You are all of them. You are the paradox, the mystery, the proof that the human soul is indestructible, that it can take the deadliest poison and alchemize it into medicine. You are the phoenix. You are the kintsugi vase. You are the hero. You are the alchemist. You are the one who walked through hell and found a deeper heaven on the other side. And now we come to the very heart of it all, the place where this entire journey, the collapse, the survival, the slow return, finds its deepest meaning. You have been asking, who does the empath become? We have looked at the psychology of it, the alchemy of it, the rebirth. But the ultimate truth is a spiritual one. What happened to you was not just a trauma, it was an initiation. The empath who survives has been fundamentally shifted into a new way of seeing, a new way of being, one that is infused with both profound spiritual insight and grounded human wisdom. To put this into words is to attempt to describe a mystery, but we must try because the soul needs to hear its own story told back to it. By surviving the narcissist, you have faced evil, not as a theological concept, but as a tangible, intimate force. You have witnessed firsthand how a charming exterior can hide a void, how love can be used as a tool of control, how a human being can try to consume another. You have stared into the emptiness at the core of a person who has disowned their own soul. To see this, to feel this, and not be destroyed by it, is a monumental spiritual achievement. You have taken a piece of the collective human shadow into yourself and metabolized it. You have looked at what society pretends does not exist, and by seeing it, you have gained a terrible and sacred knowledge. This knowledge is now part of you. It is the bedrock of who you have become, but knowledge is not enough. The final step is integration. To integrate is to weave this dark knowledge into your being, not as a source of recurring pain, but as a source of unshakable wisdom. You no longer say, "That terrible thing happened to me." You say, That experience touched me, scarred me, and initiated me into a deeper truth. This is why the wounds are sacred. They are not signs of defect. They are marks of your passage. They give you an authority that cannot be learned in books. It is the authority of lived experience. It's not about having power over anyone. It is the power of pure authenticity. People might question your opinions, but they cannot question your presence. You are the living embodiment of resilience, and that fact alone is your message to the world. Here we find the core paradox of your destiny. You are no longer just an empath because the naive, boundary, less empathy you once had has died. You are no longer just a survivor because remaining in survival mode is a form of prison. You have become something more complex, more potent, and more real. You are the wounded healer who has also befriended their own shadow. You are a living reminder that the world is not a simple fairy tale of good versus evil. You know that these forces exist in all of us. You've met them in another person, and through that, you've been forced to meet them in yourself. And this knowledge sets you free from the black and white thinking that traps so many people. You see beneath the surface. You feel the deep currents moving through all human interaction. This vision can be lonely, for it separates you from the comforting illusions most people live by. But this vision is freedom. For the truth, as lonely as it can be, is the only thing that liberates the soul. In this new phase, you may feel like a stranger in a strange land. You walk through the world seeing what others miss. You see the subtle manipulations, the hunger for validation, the masks worn so long they fused with the skin. And a great weariness might settle upon you, because you can't go back to blissful ignorance. But do not despair in this feeling of alienation. It is your vocation. You are not meant to blend in. You are meant to be a landmark for a different way of being. You are a seed of conscious individuality in a world that often demands unconscious conformity. You are a quiet note of truth in a deafening choir of performance. You won't be understood by everyone, but you will be deeply recognized by the few who are also waking up. And when they see you, they will see in your scars a map for their own journey home. Let's use a final dream image. A man dreams he is standing on a dark shoreline, watching a terrifying storm rage over the ocean. The waves are monstrous, and he is terrified he will be dragged into the abyss. But then he notices that with every crash of a wave upon the shore, the water leaves behind a shower of glowing phosphorescence. He steps closer and realizes the ocean itself is alive with light. The very power that he feared was also the source of an immense beauty. He awakens with a sense of peace, knowing that the thing he thought would drown him was, in fact, carrying the light all along. This is the final secret of your transformation. The narcissist's darkness felt like it would destroy you, but it was the very thing that forced you deep enough into your own soul to discover the inextinguishable light within. Survival taught you that your spirit is bigger than any wound. So, who have you become? You have become one who trusts the deep. You no longer fear the dark because you know it's where the stars become visible. You no longer run from pain because you know it's the raw material of wisdom. You no longer fear being abandoned because you know you can never abandon yourself. You now operate from a different center of gravity. You are rooted in your own being, and from this stable ground, you can offer a powerful, steady compassion, not the frantic, rescuing compassion of before, but the calm, seeing compassion of an old soul. You give because you choose to, not because you have to. And that choice is the definition of freedom. This freedom is the ultimate prize. It is the freedom to be authentically you, without apology, without performance, without needing anyone's approval. It is the freedom to accept your own shadow, your anger, your fear, your needs, and know you are still whole. It is the freedom to look into another person's eyes, whether they are masked or open, and see the truth without losing your own. This is not a small thing. It is the very freedom the soul came here to find. And so, my friends, the answer to the question, who do I become? Is this, you finally become yourself. Not the self your family needed you to be, Not the self a narcissist tried to turn you into, not the self you performed to keep the peace, but the true self that has been waiting patiently in the depths all along. You become the one who can finally say, with quiet authority, I am, and that statement is not an act of ego. It is an act of profound authenticity. It is the voice of your soul, finally claiming its place in the world. It is the culmination of your journey, the integration of shadow and light, the alignment of pain and purpose, the awakening of the eternal within the ordinary. If you listen, right now, in the silence, you can hear that voice within you. It is not a voice of praise or condemnation. It is a voice of simple fact. It whispers, you are whole. You were always whole. When you felt broken into a million pieces, you were whole. When you carried another's darkness, you were whole. When you were certain you wouldn't make it, you were whole. And now you know it. This knowing is the treasure you brought back from the underworld. For to know your own wholeness is to live in a state of grace. It is to trust yourself, to trust the journey, and to trust the mystery that holds us all. This then is who you are. No longer just empath, no longer just victim, no longer just survivor. You are a soul awakened. A human being who has walked through the fire and learned to carry your own light. You are the living answer to your own deepest question. You are the one who has become.